This week's video is action-packed with all kinds of crazy cards showing up on the market. And I mean everything from Assassin's Creed to Bloomburrow and Duskmorn. This week's top 10 has it all. So don't forget, your weekly top 10 this week is October 19th to the 26th of 2024. Stay tuned because we got some craziness in the house this week. Hey Magic fans, welcome back. MTG Moxman here, and thanks again for stopping by the channel for this week's installment of the Top 10. The hottest selling cards in Magic the Gathering this week, and let me tell you, Magic fans are having a bit of a go with a whole bunch of crazy cards. Now, a reminder before we start today's video that if you want to support this channel, you can find a link for TCG Player in my description. It's an affiliate link. Buy with that link, it helps the channel. Now let's dive into number 10. Let's talk about Excalibur, the Sword of Eden. This thing had 926 sales. That's $22,399.94 because this card has an average price of $24.19. You're probably wondering what's going on with the powerhouse card like this coming out of nowhere to make a top 10. Well, it has to do with Marvel, and there's a lot of an explanation there, but we'll get there. This is a legendary equipment that costs like 12 to get out. Now, this artifact does state, though, that this spell costs X less to cast, where X is the total value of historic permanents you control. Artifacts, legendaries, and sagas are historic. Equipped creature gets +10/+0 and has vigilance. Equip a legendary creature for 2. Yeah, this card's going to fit in just perfectly with Marvel. Now, our number 9 card this week is Enduring Innocence from Duskmorn. This card has had a bit of a crash in price. We're down to $8.44, and that seems to have piqued the interest of players out there. It had 930 sales, which is $7,849.20 of sales action, and that's because the price has been decreasing that more players are willing to spend some money and get a playset of 4. Now, it's 2 white and 1 other for this enchantment creature sheep Glimmer with lifelink. It's a 2/1, and it says whenever 1 or more creatures you control with power 2 or less enter, you get to draw a card. This ability triggers only once per turn. When Enduring Innocence dies, if it was a creature, it now becomes an enchantment. Now, these Glimmer type enchantment spells, the Enduring cards, they're doing quite well in the overall sales action of what's going on in Standard, and they are seeing a lot of play as players try to fit them into already existing decks. We'll have to wait a little bit longer, though, to see if the price has an upturn. Now, for our number 8 card this week, it is Gloom Verge, yet again showing up here in the top 10. It has an average price of $9.86. It had 1,104 sales, which is $10,885.44 of total sales action. Now, this one seems to be the most sought after right now of all the Verge lands. Okay, this is the one that's making its name known, and it's the one with the most sales. Now, the Gloom Verge, don't forget the epic artwork in the backdrop, but it's just a land, it's a rare, it taps for a blue mana, and it's nice, it doesn't come into play tapped. But you can only add black mana, you can only activate it if you control an island or a swamp. But there's lots of ways of utilizing this card, and it's seeing quite a bit of play already showing up in cards in Commander as well as Standard. I don't know if it's going to show up in Modern, but you guys could let me know that in the comments section if I'm missing something. It is a great card, but it's not the be-all end-all, and I actually expect these cards to rebound, to go actually higher in price a little bit later into 2025. That'll be for a later conversation. We'll check that out. But let's go ahead and take a look at number 7 this week. Now, number 7 is Enduring Vitality. This card is $4.46, but it had 1,250 sales, which of course is $5,575 of total sales action. Let's not forget that these Enduring cards, they're pretty sought after as rares, and a lot of players recognize the value. This is a 2 green and 1 other to cast the spell, and it is a 3/3. Now, this card as an enchantment is kind of nice. Artwork's kind of, meh for me. But the enchantment creature is an Elk Glimmer. It does have vigilance, and it says creatures you control can tap to add any color to your mana pool. Kind of nice. When Enduring Vitality dies, if it was a creature, return to the battlefield as an enchantment. This has a lot of playability and a lot of factors that green splashed with a few other colors would like to utilize. I can understand why players would want to keep this kind of card around. So at its price point, I think getting 4 is a pretty safe bet, and it's going to have a lot of long-term playability. So it's a card that I say is on the uptrend, and you're probably going to see more sales in the near future. Now, when we go ahead and take a look at the number 6 card this week, we're stopping into Sink into Stupor from Modern Horizons 3. This card continues to see an uptrend in price, but the sales have kind of been meh, off and on. We've seen a lot of action, but then it just drops off the map and has no sales to make a top 10 video. So 1,321 sales, that's $9,445.15 of total sales action for the card, and it is highly sought after for players who are using it. Like, I mean, if they see the card, they're like, yeah, I want that card. 2 blue, 1 other, it's an instant, and it says, return target island or non-land permanent an opponent controls to its owner's hand. That's kind of nice, but then later on, if you don't need it, you can get the lands you need, okay? And yeah, you have to pay some life if you want untapped, but it's still nice to know that you have a little bit of versatility, but the control this spell offers as an uncommon is pretty cool, but that price tag is not. That's an expensive card for an uncommon. Now, we're stopping in at number 5 this week, and this is one of the ones that I knew was going to kind of show up because the price has dropped off the face of the earth. Here is Enduring Courage. Now, let's get into this card. It's $1.05. It had 2,200 sales, but that's only $2,310. And the problem is any mono red deck is not using this card. It may show up in the odd one as a fringe thing, but it's not commanding a spot because on turn 4, the game's already over. You've either scooped or you've won if you're playing on Arena. I've tried this card out multiple times in different deck variations of my red ramp, and I'm telling you, I don't need the card. I'm using Slick Shots, I'm using the Heart Hero, and I'm getting the job done way before I ever need this card. So that's why it's just dropped off. It's not seeing play. The supply is readily available, but now we're seeing some sales in case later on it becomes an action card. So as a $1.05 card, yes, I think you should buy 4 just in case something comes down the line and makes it worth your while later. You don't want to miss out on a FOMO event. Now for our next card, it is the Unstoppable Slasher from Duskmoor at $4.99, a little bit of a resurgence here. 2,312 sales, $11,536.88 of total sales action. And what we see with this card is it does have arena play. It has shown up in standard matches, and it's the ability to get that life down to half, which is just kind of making it a sought-after card, and it can be splashed into a lot of decks, okay? 1 black, 2 other. The Unstoppable Slasher is a zombie assassin, which makes it a prime target, of course, for commander decks. It has Death Touch. When it deals combat damage to a player, they lose half their life rounded up. When Unstoppable Slasher dies, if it has no counters on it, return to the battlefield under its owner control with 2 stun counters. This is an amazing card, okay? It just blows my mind to think that this thing is this cheap and this playable. I'm surprised I haven't come against it more often inside of arena matches. And at local store level, I've seen it a couple times, but I didn't have trouble dealing with it. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at the next one. This is Patchwork Banner. Now, this thing's been here basically since Bloomborough came out. Number 3 spot, 2,542 sales. Now, I thought this card was going to wind down. The price is kind of trending down a bit, but players are still seeking this card out. $11,337.32. Let's not forget the Patchwork Banner as an uncommon is actually a little bit harder to pull. I've seen a lot of stores sell out now and they don't have any in stock, so it's becoming kind of one of those cards people want. 3 casting cost artifact. As it comes into play, you choose a creature type. Creatures of the chosen type get +1/+1, but it also can tap for any color mana, and that makes it just a bonus happy Yahtzee card to have around, and that means a lot of players are looking for it still for various deck builds. The problem is it's not available a lot of Paper Magic. Stores just don't have it in. A lot of wish list cards, so keep an eye out, guys. This one I think is going to level out at about $5. Now, we're taking a look at number 2 this week, and number 2 came out of nowhere. This is the Ghost Vacuum. I'm not going to ignore it because look at that price swing right there. $5.39, 3,015 sales takes the number 2 spot. That's a total value of $16,250.85. Now, what's the vacuum got going on that players are utilizing? Why are people seeking this card out? It's actually pretty interesting. I ignored it. I've never used it, but I can see why players like it. It's a 1 casting cost. Number 1, easy to get out. It can exile a target card from a graveyard, making it great to target things. But number 6, sacrifice the Ghost Vacuum. Put each creature card exiled with a Ghost Vacuum onto the battlefield under your control, with a flying counter on it. Each of them is a 1/1 spirit in addition to other types. Guys, this is an amazing card. Okay, I don't know why I missed it, but I haven't seen it. I haven't played against it, but I think players are getting ready for some upcoming deck ideas. So cards like this are cards to pay attention to. But now let's stop in at number 1. What card is taking the number 1 spot this week? It's the Untimely Malfunction. This card is $1.63. It had 4,290 sales. That's $6,992.70 of total sales action. It's a very inexpensive card to buy, yet it continues to have sales. They've been ramping up, and I guess as this thing is kind of leveled out, players are recognizing how great it can be. I do use it in my red deck. Now let's take a look. One red, one other. It's an instant that says choose one. Destroy a target artifact, change the target of a target spell or ability with a single target, or one or two creatures can't block this turn. So it's nice when you're trying to finish off an opponent. It lets you deal with a pesky artifact, or if they're trying to ping one of your creatures, you can ping it right back by just redirecting the spell. There's a lot going on with this card that players don't recognize, and I can see why people are buying it now. Buying 4 for less than 10 bucks makes it a pretty soft target for a lot of purchasing and speculators, guys. Now let's stop to the wrap up. Now, the lower end cards like Excalibur, I never would have expected that card to make the list. But that's because of the price. But now that I'm thinking about the Marvel cards that are coming in, Captain America and stuff, I can see players kind of wanting to try some crazy stuff. And they're looking at some of the Assassin's Creed artifacts as a way of maybe utilizing them into some future deck constructions. And when we take a look at the cards that are really cheap, like the Enduring Courage and stuff, those cards are just ripe for speculation in case something comes down the line that makes them good. And that's something to be aware of. That's something to pay attention to for the future. And those aren't things you should ignore as possible points of speculation. Because when you do, things can go wrong if you miss out buying it. You go, I should have bought 4 while I had the chance. It was $4 for 4. Most of us have had those moments in Magic history, haven't we? Anyone who's thinking, maybe it'll go a little bit cheaper. Maybe I don't need it right now. And then it comes back around. Even the Slasher dropping down to $5. These are prime target cards for people who might want to utilize them or might be diving into Paper Magic into Standard because they're going to be around for a number of years, making them highly playable. And the synergy of future sets we don't know, so they could be really highly sought after or be dumped onto the side if something better comes along. Either way, stronger market sales. Singles are kind of drying up, which is interesting. We will talk about that probably in next week's video when I get a little more data in. And then, of course, let's not forget, tomorrow we have the reserve list top 10. The hottest selling cards in the reserve list, and there's a lot to cover about what's going on in the reserve list market that players are not going to want to miss. So, guys, thanks again for stopping by the channel. I hope you had a blast here with the top 10 as much as I did presenting it to you. And I will see you guys as well for my live stream, 6:30 Eastern Standard Time on Sunday. Guys, have a great one. We'll see you soon. And of course, a big shout out and thank you to the fantastic patrons of my channel. If it wasn't for the patrons' daily uploaded content, well, let's face it, we wouldn't be doing it every day. We'd be doing something else. And of course, the same goes for my YouTube membership members. Without those members, yeah, you wouldn't have the time to do what we do on this channel. So thanks again to all the supporters out there who watch and give these videos a thumbs up. I will see you tomorrow with another video. Well, well, well. You're here. We made it. We're back. We're here. No, we're gone. We're here. No, we're here. We're here. Ramble jamble. Guys, I'll be honest, I got company coming in tonight. I'm running to get this video done quickly to make sure everything's synced and done and hopefully no editing mistakes that are massively thing. I apologize if there is not even in advance. I guess it's in advance, but it's at the end of the video. So you're watching in the past tense of the accents I've already made that I'm apologizing for at the beginning of the video. I think I'm talking too quickly, which means I've probably had too much caffeine. It's only been like 3-4 coffees. You could have more caffeine. I'm not making sense, but that's okay. That's why it's called the Ramble Jamble. Not everything is going to... I saw that. Your kid is in the background right behind you making a funny face. Turn around, look at your kid, man. Make sure they're helping you out, not making funny faces at you. I know Halloween's almost here, but we're not here yet. On the serious note, guys, the sales are a lot higher year over year, and we're not even in November yet. So that is something to pay attention to. I am worried, honestly, that we are going to see a drying up of some of the singles, and it's starting to show on some of these cards like Patchwork Banner. Those cards getting any cheaper than they are right now is going to make them more sought after. And as the price rises, they're going to become more expensive, of course, but then you're also going to have players saying, I should have bought them when they were cheaper, because nobody's opening the boxes right now. The money always moves on. People always they may buy a box to keep it sealed. We're seeing that with collector boxes still. But the sales, even on collector boxes, super slow. Okay, nothing crazy is going on. But that also means that no singles come into the market, and that just kind of gives us a weird space when these cards start being bought up and nothing comes in to replace them because the boxes are just too expensive. It's just too expensive. Anyway, thanks again, guys. Have a great one. Ramble Jamble!